in the east and sits in the west. Just so you know.
I just,
You gotta lean over just enough to see them.
yeah. Somerville Planning Board for Wednesday, March 11, 2026, please come to order. Adequate notice of this meeting, as required by the Open Public Meeting Act, has been provided. A copy of the notice specifying the date, time, and location was 1, posted on the bulletin board outside of Borough Hall, 2, mailed, faxed, or emailed to the Courier News, and 3, given to the Clerk Administrator. This meeting is a judicial proceeding. Any questions or comments must be limited to the issues the board may legally consider in reaching a decision, and the decorum appropriate to a judicial hearing must always be maintained at all times. Roll call.
Andrea Dare. Chris Addicks.
Here.
Larry Cleveland.
Here.
Tim Hayes.
Here.
Bill Kale.
Here.
Jason Kraska.
Here.
John Manilio.
Here.
Barry Van Horn.
Here.
Mayor Gallagher is excused. Councilmember Vroom.
Here.
Chairperson Werner.
Here. Please stand for the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I do need a motion. We are going to be going into executive session.
So moved.
Second. Andrea Dare.
You know what, let's start the other way, do regular board members first, and then,
Oh, okay. Yep.
yep, and then the first alternate, because the mayor's not here.
Okay. Chairperson Werner.
Yes.
Councilmember Vroom.
Yes.
Jason Kraska.
Yes.
Andrea Dare.
Yes.
Chris Addicks.
Yes.
Larry Cleveland.
Yes.
John Manilio.
Yes.
Bill Kale.
Yes. Would you first or second? I think he's second. Hayes is first.
This has Bill Kale as one on mine, but
Okay, yep, all right, sorry. Got it, all right, perfect, thank you. Yes, we'll be going into executive session to discuss pending litigation. We will not take any vote during executive session, and we will be returning to public at the conclusion of executive session.
Okay.
Motion to open the regular meeting?
Second.
Chairperson Warner,
Yes.
Councilmember Vroom,
Yes.
Jason Kraska,
Yes.
John Manilio,
Yes.
Barry Van Horn,
Yes.
Andrea Adair, Chris Addicks,
Yes.
Larry Cleveland,
Yes.
Tim Hayes.
Yes.
All right, I will forego comments. Our ARB reviews, we had Corner Cash at Casa Exchange. 138 West Main Street was for a vinyl window sign. It's in there. It was pretty simplistic, pretty cut and dry. No pun intended on a vinyl window sign. I need a motion for approval for maintenance from February 25th.
Second?
Chairperson Warner,
Yes.
Councilmember Vroom,
Yes.
Jason Kraska,
Yes.
John Manilio,
Yes.
Barry Van Horn was excused, Andrea Adair, Chris Addicks,
Yes.
Larry Cleveland,
Yes.
Tim Hayes,
Yes.
Bill Kill.
Yes.
Okay, we have quite a few resolutions to review. Resolution 2026, we don't have a number for it yet. Resolution memorializing consistency, determinations, and recommendations of the Planning Board of Borough of Somerville with regards to ordinances 2786, 260217, and 2787, 260217, amending the zoning and land use and development ordinances of the Borough Code. Mike, do you want to make any comments?
No, it's basically what the board approved at the last planning board meeting. It's just memorializing, so in the future.
Yep.
On minor things, just so the board knows, I sent an email to Kevin, as you heard, say, I'll send an email and copy Kara. But on major things, fair share and big exhaustive ordinances, the resolution's being prepared, and that's what it is.
Yep, I don't know what copy you have in front of you. If you do not have the name of the Affordable Housing Council in the third whereas, I just inserted it for the record, Christopher Daniskis Zingaro. So any motion would include the amending to incorporate that, and the only two people that are ineligible to make a motion or vote is Van Horn and Gale.
I'll make a motion.
Second.
Who was the second?
Roger.
Chairperson Warner,
Yes.
Councilmember Vroom,
Yes.
Jason Kraska,
Yes.
John Manilio,
Yes.
Andrea Adair, Chris Addicks,
Yes.
Larry Cleveland,
Yes.
Tim Hayes.
Yes.
Okay, next resolution is our resolution adopting our revised 2025 Housing Element and Fair Share Plan. Need a motion?
So moved.
Motions on this one, same two ineligible, Van Horn and Gale.
Second.
Chairperson Warner,
Yes.
Councilmember Vroom,
Yes.
Jason Kraska,
Yes.
John Manilio,
Yes.
Andrea Adair, Chris Addicks,
Yes.
Larry Cleveland,
Yes.
Tim Hayes.
Yes.
Okay, next resolution, 2026-260202, resolution memorializing consistency, determination, and recommendations of the Planning Board of the Borough of Somerville with regards to ordinance 2784-260202, amending the redevelopment plan for West Main Street redevelopment area specifically. I'm not going to read all those blocks and lots, pursuant to and et cetera.
So moved.
This is Granite's building?
West Main Street, yes.
Chairperson Warner,
Yes.
Councilmember Vroom,
Yes.
Jason Kraska,
Yes.
John Manilio,
Yes.
Andrea Adair, Chris Addicks,
Yes.
Larry Cleveland,
Yes.
Tim Hayes.
Yes.
Okay, resolution for the application of 50 Kirby Urban Renewal LLC, application number 2021-027P, request for amendment to condition of resolution of approval.
So moved.
Second.
You have to do a couple things.
Yep.
By virtue of the.
On this one.
That's being asked for. Mike can give a little description, but basically, this is one of those where the applicant's seeking to amend the condition, and specifically, it's condition J of the resolution, which limits the approval to the development as it's depicted on the site plan. Michael explained, but after he does that, we just have to have a vote, and there's very few of you that can actually vote on this. The only ones that can participate in the vote are Adair, Cleveland, Addicks, and Kraska, because you were the ones that voted on the original approval of the project. We have to first determine that change in the condition, once you hear what that involves, is considered insignificant and therefore would not have affected your decision on the application. If that's the case, then we can proceed tonight to adopt the resolution without a public hearing or any notice. We've done this before, some of you may remember, but I'll let Mike just kind of explain what we're talking about here.
Thank you. It's just the clubhouse, there is a clubhouse with 50 Kirby. The accessible ramp was installed, but frankly, the door is swinging in the wrong direction. So they're proposing to make the front doors the accessible route with a minor change to a concrete for the ramp. It's technically not even a ramp, because it's less than 5%, but the bottom line is to provide an accessible path on the outswing door. So the accessible ramp that's installed will remain, and some additional concrete will pull to the front double doors to provide an outswing. That's all it is, in a nutshell.
So out of the 4 eligible board members, I just need a motion to indicate whether or not this condition, the amendment of this condition would be significant, and then we'll take an actual vote.
I'll make the motion that is not a significant change.
Andrea Dare. Larry Cleveland.
Yes.
Jason Kraska.
Yes.
Chris Adams.
It was me.
Chris Addicks.
Yes.
And then I need a motion and a second on the resolution itself. The only change for the record, we did receive a letter from Donna Jennings, who was counsel at the time. I just included the date of that letter, which is March 6, 2026.
So moved.
Second.
Andrea Dare.
Yes.
Larry Cleveland.
Yes.
Jason Kraska.
Yes.
Chris Addicks.
Yes.
Okay, moving on, we have an ordinance review. This was introduced to council on Monday night for our review. Ordinance 2788, 260302, entitled Off-Street Parking and Loading Requirements, Section F, entitled Driveways. Any questions?
So I'm jumping the gun. So moved.
All right.
Second.
Chairperson Winter.
Yes.
Councilmember Vroom.
Yes.
Jason Kraska.
Yes.
John Manilio.
Yes.
Barry Van Horn.
Yes.
Andrea Dare.
Yes.
Chris Addicks.
Yes.
Larry Cleveland.
Yes.
Tim Hayes.
Yes.
Okay, moving on, we have no hearings, so we're gonna move on to our, oh, sorry, go ahead.
That's okay. That vote was just to deem the ordinance as introduced consistent with the
master.
Yes, I'm sorry,
Yes.
yes, I should have said that, yes. Okay. Moving on to discussion items. We are going to start off with stormwater. So we had put this on hold because DEP came out with that second set of regulations, as we are all aware. We wanted Mike to attend the webinars on the new information. He has summarized it for us, so we're gonna be back to discussing. We've already addressed everything else that was in the stormwater regs from DEP. This is in regards to the newest round of requirements. Mike?
Thank you. It's the optional section 9 or 10 of, you'll see in the red, the model ordinance provides an optional for the municipality to adopt it to allow mitigation. Now, to allow mitigation means we have to have mitigation sites and something set up for this. Right now, the borough is not set up for this. So you could include it, make the recommendation to council to include it, but I don't know where the mitigation would be performed. We could leave it as an option. The borough could certainly leave it in there as an option, but it begs the question, where is the mitigation site? Just for the summary, if they can't, the applicant, for whatever reason, can't meet the performance standards, the mitigation gives you an option, but you have to still do it, just a different site. So that you have to offset the stormwater and the quality. So it's, in practice, it makes sense to allow more flexibility, a different site to do stormwater management. Just with 2.2 or 2.3 square miles, where is that going to happen? And then you could argue that it doesn't have to happen within the borough, as long as it's within the watershed, the HUC 14 modeling. but then that becomes a whole nother thing with municipalities. So it's really the pleasure of the planning board, but I don't see how it practically gets done with the option.
Anybody? Comments? Thoughts?
I agree with Michael. I think it's going to be hard to accomplish, especially for a small borough like us, and we could just take it out.
I agree.
We would just, if the recommendation to council would be just do strike through, he wouldn't even show it in the model ordinance. As far as my read, that's the only option in the model ordinance. This is, I'm sorry, I misspoke, it's section 11. It's not section 9 or 10, you see it's X1.
Yeah, section 11.
So that's the only option I see in the whole model ordinance that came out on January 20th. This is the new regs. And again, to refresh the board, this is, after a lot of drilling, the municipalities appear to have 1 year to adopt this. Now, that being said, we've been dealing with this subject for at least 5-6 months. So I'm not suggesting that the borough takes a year. I'm just saying there is, that question came up at, I think, the last meeting.
Yeah, I mean, I will say, we've taken a lot of time, care, consideration in reviewing
Yeah.
all different perspectives, all different reviews, making sure that we all are on the same page, for whether we agreed or disagreed, but on the same page. I think that we've done a very good, as a planning board, serving back to the borough, a good job at ensuring that we have thoroughly vetted, reviewed, and I think we're at a point we can make some solid recommendations to Borough Council for this ordinance.
I agree. I think we strike this out, the optional part out, sorry, and move it along back up to council with everything we discussed, with the new changes, sorry.
Okay. Any other comments from the board before I open it to the public?
Yeah, I was just going to say, I agree. Prior to January 20th, I think we were all in agreement that we liked the major development stuff that was in the ordinance. The new stuff came out. We all kind of digested it. It was surprising to some people, but we got into it. A lot of the changes were all major development related stuff that it's going to have to happen anyway. Mm-hmm. And so I think as it is, we all probably still in agree about the major development stuff. Let's send it up and get this done.
Okay. Anybody else before I open it? All right, I'll open it up to any members in the public that have any comments on this. You can come up, just state your name and address, please.
Hi, guys.
Hey.
Jeff Kaiser, 23 Vanderveer Avenue, Somerville. So I just had a couple things to say. So I'm vice, chair of the Environmental Commission, if you don't already know. The real rules that came out, a lot of the things that we had recommended to the board, the real rules included some of them, and they included portions of most of them. They didn't go exactly where we had recommended, but I wanted to point out a few of those things that the differences between what we had recommended and what they've actually included. So, for instance, on section 7.8, so it's 7.8, not 1.6, it's 1.2 major development. So they had included 1/4 of an acre. We had suggested 5,000 square feet for disturbance. That's something that we felt strongly about. The applicability, again, we went into minor development as well. I think it would be, I still would urge the board to consider some sort of incentives that could be had when people are putting in more impervious surfaces in their property. The section 5.2, you had the, which was stormwater management measures for major development, as long as groundwater recharge. We were suggesting to add that all impervious surfaces on site, including the previous existing impervious coverage. This goes again to that redevelopment loophole that we had discussed. I know that the real rules did address it in some form, but we were looking to see if we could, we were suggesting that we add the language that we had included there to make it more strong, as well as including it towards water quality and water quantity, which we'll get to. The green infrastructure, they did a good job with green infrastructure, but again, the language, I would recommend that we make sure that there's no, when they include things that, so the included language we had was said that shall be required to the maximum extent applicable and not shall be waived based on solely on cost, convenience, or project phasing. So that's a bit stronger language to make sure that the green infrastructure is used. Water quality, runoff, and water quantity. Again, those things are a bit somewhat addressed, but not addressed across the entire property, across the entire impervious surface that's being added, as well as not bringing up the redevelopment area to the new standards across everything. The maintenance requirements, I do think that if we're going to put in, stormwater runoff and stormwater management practices, it's good to keep them maintained. So I think that would be a good idea. There's a few more, but I would like, I would encourage you to take a look at the differences that I've outlined, as well as what we had already recommended that don't apply to the real rules, and those differences, and consider them. I had one other thing I wanted to say real quick. I wanted to add a brief note on behalf of Timmery, the commission chair from the Environmental Commission, who could not be here tonight. And she wanted to say, throughout this process, we've noticed that the discussion seems to center on a binary choice. Either adopt the state recommendations as written, or adopt the EC suggested enhancements in full. I'm hoping we can widen the scope and approach it differently. There's meaningful middle ground, and the EC would welcome the chance to explore practical options that can be tailored to Somerville's goals, capacity, and constraints. Regardless of our long-term role as the ordinance moves forward towards adoption, we recognize that this is about addressing a key concern for residents. What matters most is that the regulations we adopt reflect Somerville's real conditions, the storms we've already experienced, and the increased intensity we've projected to see. Because the state minimums are just that, minimums, Somerville's flooding reality often exceeds what a baseline standard accounts for. So I'd encourage us to use this process to aim for resilience and best fit for Somerville, not just to meet a state threshold. So thank you very much.
Thank you. Anybody else from the public? Okay, I will close the public portion. Comments, questions, board members? All right. I will make a response to the chair's, from the commission's comment of that it looked like it was in the either or. This board took to heart everything that was brought before us, and our main stipulation that kept us in agreement was cost to our residents. And I understand that there are two sides to that. But we had, before this, just to make it clear, we had a pretty beefy, strong stormwater management plan. We have never fallen short on that, and I'll just use Somerset County with 21 municipalities. We were far ahead of the curve for a long time. And I think we pride ourselves on that. But we also have to have that balance of where does it turn into punishment to a resident to do some smaller adjustments, which is why we ended up not doing the minor development. We stuck with that major development. I think the black and white view at times of it's either this or that, I don't think is a fair statement, because we did take everything you guys did and looked at very much to heart, and we had to make those balances. My background and what I do for a living, I am very well aware of the flooding that happens not only in Somerville but in Somerset County, and that does come into consideration on what some of these adjustments could be to help us. Having said that, in the type environment that we live in the way that Somerville is built out already, most of those are not going to change it. It is the bigger changes that we've been addressing for a while now. Not building certain places, keeping certain places as open space, keeping certain places that are not allowed to be developed on. those are areas that we can address and assist Somerville Borough in. But I do want that on record. We did very much take that to heart. We did look at it. We truly appreciated your thoughts and all the time put into it. Just so as a comment, this is an ordinance, so we make recommendations to council. So please take your thoughts to council as well, because they do get that another review at it as well. These are our recommendations. I don't want you to feel like this is the final. These are our final recommendations, though. Okay. Motion to move to these recommendations up to Borough Council.
I'll make that motion, and that's with,
With the, yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
with the strike of section 11,
11.
sorry.
And keeping the current definition of major development.
Yes,
Correct.
that we previously discussed.
Yep.
Right.
Yep.
Previously
The
discussed.
All the
2003
previous,
that
yeah.
We're leaving the, okay.
Second. Chairperson Warner,
Yes.
Councilmember Vroom,
Yes.
Jason Kraska,
Yes.
John Manilio,
Yes.
Barry Van Horn,
Yes.
Andrea Adair, Chris Addicks,
Yes.
Larry Cleveland,
Yes.
Tim Hayes.
Yes.
All right, next item for discussion is we are back to the ECBD Area Need Study re-exam. Mike, you have not completed the Area Need Study, right? Just to get that on that record, okay. And then the amendment to the ECBD District Redevelopment Plan. So this specifically, I think we discussed it at the last meeting, if I can remember. They do blur together at times. We talked about the overlays. So what we had Mike do was pull everything on the overlays for the ECBD as a whole so that we could look at it. This is where, so in the overlays, that one, I'm going to use that shocking number of, what was it, 90 feet? Is it 90 feet at the corner? Okay, 90 feet. We're allowing for a 90-foot building. And I'm actually going to incorporate this in partly, as we're looking at these redevelopment plans, I'm going to incorporate something from just the last conversation we just had on stormwater management. A lot of, when these redevelopment plans were, where there was really not any redevelopment in Somerville. Those are the kind of things of reasons why we're revisiting our redevelopment plans. What is appropriate with the space we have left, what is not appropriate with the space left, and if it is going to be redeveloped, what is the appropriate use and appropriate, I guess use of, and I think I want that to be understood by the public as well, as that's why we're doing this. Me, personally, I'm gonna say I don't feel a 90-foot building anywhere in Somerville at this point is appropriate. I don't really know if I ever thought it was. But having said that, that's why we pulled the overlay zone.
It was a good idea at the time.
You know what, but here's the thing, Larry, to your point, it definitely was. Why? Because we didn't have anything, right? This was one of the first ones, this is one of the oldest ones. And it was that gate, we called it that gateway. We wanted it to really grab you from that end, right? Because Borough Hall and West End was this end. We wanted it to start to grab. So yeah, it sounded like a great idea. But again, that's why we're revisiting it, and I'm gonna harp on it. 90 feet seemed a bit excessive to me now. No, back then it did not, you're right. But it was a different time. Did everybody get a chance to look at the overlay zones, some comments, thought process?
Yeah, I'll jump in.
Yeah,
You want to go?
No, you go first, I'll go after you.
So going through it all, I almost feel like, and again, just looking at each one of them and reading through them, I almost feel we can get rid of all the overlay zones, go back to the original base map, base zoning, aside from the one we just redid and we just updated.
So so I will note on that. What we can do is what do we want in the event of, so we can still put, what's the right language I'm looking for, Mike? You know what I'm talking about, in the, that one block lot, the block and lots that we just
That we
did.
just did for the East End plan.
We have a specific redevelopment plan for lots, that's what
So that's the redevelopment plan. So that isn't affected by any of the overlays? Because it diverts, because that takes precedence.
Right.
So then I recommend getting rid of all the overlay zones, going back to base zoning, then taking a look at Schedule A, going through those and figuring out what uses, if there's any uses or anything in those actual base zones that you disagree with or think should be added. I did do that and went through, and I had, a dozen changes I would make to Schedule A on those base zones. But I don't think, to Lisa's point, we need those overlay zones. I mean, a residential zone is a residential zone. I don't think we need to encourage, the idea of the overlay zone was to encourage additional development above and beyond what the residential zone would have allowed.
And the Kirby Avenue redevelopment plan, we listed the permitted uses per lot and block. It made it very simple. Now, obviously, these are more lots, but it's not tremendous. It's not like 300 lots. And a lot of these areas, not a lot, but a few of them, like the Cobalt Station House, you just say, developed, developed. So it might, if the board might want to consider just going back to permitted uses per lot and block. Now, at Kirby Avenue, it was only 7 or 9 lots. This is probably going to be around 40 or 50.
At least, yeah. I mean, I think we could keep the base zoning for them, maybe extend, like, I made some notes on the maps to redraw some of those base zone lines. From my opinion, like, extending the one zone that I'm not sure, it's not EB4, I'm looking at an old map now because that's what I drew on. But extending it into, down Mechanic Street up to, all the way up to Grove Street and including the block that has, McLaughlin Agency, the hotel, the courthouse, or, not the courthouse, the jail. And including that in the zone because that's not included in any of these zones on that map. And then again, as Mike was saying, adjust the Schedule A. And I don't know if we need to go as deep as every individual block and lot. I think the residential, we can leave as the residential. That's all I have. You're
Yeah,
up.
Larry, I know you were.
When looking at the development over the last 20 years that Mike gave us last week, I think we should remove anything that's already been built on this, take it out of the plan. I think we should break the plan down to basics because Cobalt is already done. Station House is done. Warren Street is done. There's nothing else to do there unless they're gonna tear down a building that's.
So are you, I just want to make sure I'm following. You're saying remove those block and lots from the plan?
Yes.
Okay, I just want to make sure I'm
Oh,
following
yeah,
your
no, I'm
thought
sorry.
process.
I'm just looking at like, it's unwielding at this point. And there's a lot of spots that are already fixed. And then some of the spots are gonna go away, like fresh restorations. If they do the Gateway building, that's gonna go away. The ice cream place, gonna go away. The rental car sandwich shop, gonna go away. All that stuff's gonna go away, so.
So I think,
about it.
yes,
And-
on that, I'm going to say at that East Gateway, one of the things we have the opportunity to do here is, let's say that project goes away.
That's another story.
So
Well,
I don't
we
think
get
should
to address
remove
it.
those then, yeah.
Then I think we might not want to remove it. We may need to just readdress. If it goes away, what do we want and not want there? So, and this will go again, it goes,
Okay.
listen, that's a floodplain zone down there.
Yeah.
There was a lot of thought processes of, more recently, within the last decade, of what is more appropriate of doing in those properties and what is not appropriate to do to those properties. So we're allowed to take the bite at that apple as well. If that project goes away, what do we want to see there and what do we not want to see there?
All right, and you mentioned about Mechanic Street, and I think discussions last week, we should remove Mechanic Street as part of the redevelopment, maybe keep Park Avenue part of it if that's something that's.
So I think, by going back to the base zoning, I don't think in like Mechanic, I don't know if it's necessarily, and partly that abuts where the area need study is being looked at. So I'd want to wait to see what we saw in that area and need study. But I think by going back to the base zoning, it allows for, if it goes away, if something there goes away, we say this is still what we want here then. Does that make sense? You know what I'm saying?
No, I understand,
So,
yeah.
yeah, so in my scenario of getting rid of the base zoning there, Mechanic
No,
Street,
overlay.
overlay, Mechanic Street, all those houses would just go back to being a residential zone. That's all that's allowed there. And the other side of the street is not residential, so that would be And that's where I was saying we should add that into,
Oh, bring the county facility.
That's what the area
Yes.
need study is looking at right now.
Yeah.
but it would, if we remove the base zoning, it would make, if it's a residential area in it, that's it. That's all you could do there without a variance.
That's why listing by lot and blocks is very clean.
It is.
You say
It's a lot
Mechanic
of work.
Street has been reconstructed, revitalized, maintain the character, use this, and we just list the lots and blocks. That's the benefit of listing the uses by lot and block. Jason, back to your point on that.
So, and the other option we have is if we're going back to base zoning, which, does anybody here disagree? Let's, because before we go too far down this rabbit hole, does anybody else disagree with removing the current overlay zoning? Okay, just because I don't want to go down that, if there is some, let's discuss that first before we go too far down, right? So in that base zoning, the other thing, the option we have to do, we could do is realigning with the base zoning, so restructuring it, right? So kind of to what Jason was saying, you know, we've got EB3, we could kind of say, okay, where do we want to do this? Does it want to be extended? Do we want to shorten it? Do we want to make it bigger? We want to, you know, R3's right in that area. So, and to Larry's point, to your point, then on Mechanic Street, maybe that's realigning what we want to see. You know, right? Let's make sure, I guess what I'm getting at is, let's make sure each lot and block matches up with what we see as the vision as that base zoning. Because there might be some where we're like, yeah, no, this currently actually in the base zoning allows for this, and we don't want to see it. You know, it might be down, okay, 2 blocks away, but not here.
Right.
So I think what I'd like to see is everybody look at it, right, for next meeting. Now we know we're going to remove the overlay, look at that base zoning, and then really look at, and in the package, well, you sent it, right, because I have it,
Yeah,
right?
the transfer developed, the colored map shows
That one's-
the base
Yes.
zoning along with the flood hazard. And I was about to bring up, how, maybe the next meeting, we discuss the impact of the flood hazard areas.
Yes.
The last reiteration was trying to get the development. I understand that we just did a plan, but that was with the digital permit. However, moving forward, the question is, do we want the density above, out of the flood hazard area? And that's where you're showing, and that flood hazard line is still relatively accurate. It
Yeah.
might be a little higher because it's based on the, well, it's 500 year, but it's a little, it's higher now than it was. But that might be what the board wants to think about, is looking at the uses in the flood hazard area with this out, moving forward.
Yes.
With the exception of where we talked about.
And I think we take that opportunity now to do that.
Right.
Because our thought process is different than it was 3 decades ago.
Yeah.
I do want to clarify, I did not think we should get rid of the TDR.
Right.
No, yeah.
So, but
So those
when
are
I said
things-
the overlay, I did not mean the TDR, the.
But
transfer
again, to
development
Mike's point,
rights.
right, then where is that appropriate? Because maybe we're
Right.
going to exclude it from anything that's under the floodplain. You can't do a TDR, like you can,
When you start looking at the TDR, Jason, and you look at what's developed, we might end up with less than 20 lots, is what I'm getting at.
A lot
Or
of it
20
is.
We're not talking 200 lots. When you start whittling it down.
Yeah.
From what Larry said, what's developed versus what is in need of development, plus what's in the floodplain area. So to me, it makes a lot of sense to maybe start looking at this as one zone, or zoning per lot and block, or not an overlay zone.
so one of the things that I was trying to get at was looking for, and it is in here, the Schedule B. So Schedule B is really the one that I would say if you focus on that at first, right, that's saying in each of them what their primary use was intended, right? Matching it to the Schedule A, but then also it has your maximum building height, right? So I really hope that we never see 90 feet again.
It's 90 feet.
I'm gonna get a T-shirt that says 90 feet with a big X on it. Go ahead.
I had a secondary question. On the far western side of the Eastern Business District, down by the end of Veterans Memorial, South Bridge, the residents that are on the left-hand side of the road, or
You mean, you're talking on South Bridge, the residents there?
South
Yes.
Bridge, should they be removed? Because maybe that might be better to be included in another overlay zone or another redevelopment zone.
I think we
the
look at
police
everything.
department.
I think we look at everything. I get where you're going, because that's butting against the West End Main Street, West End,
Yeah,
Yeah,
Main Street.
West
West
Main
Ma-
Street.
West Main Street
the
redevelopment.
redevelopment there might be better suited to match up with whatever we're gonna do.
Or,
with the police department.
yes, so I think that's definitely, those are the kind of comments and thought processes I think we need to bring back as a whole and say, hey, this is why we're looking at taking this out and maybe moving it to it's a better suited, combined into another redevelopment plan, because that's the use for what we're saying in our central downtown versus the way we're envisioning this East Main Street now.
Aren't they in another?
Yes, the old police building where added is an area in need of redevelopment. And I do believe that was already flipped to make the South Bridge Street to be the dividing line between West Main Street redevelopment and the ECBD redevelopment, because there was some bleed over, Larry. And this was discussed a couple of years ago. And I can reach out to Colin, but that was envisioned to address that issue, to separate the two redevelopments.
So you're saying the line might have already been drawn?
Yes.
Down the middle? Okay, can you get that clarification for us?
I'll have
Okay,
that
perfect.
clarification, and just so everybody is aware, the properties in the vicinity of the old police building, council chambers, that has been, about 4 or 5 years ago, that was designated an area of redevelopment. So that area is tying in to the missing pieces, just so everybody knows that.
Yep.
Can I just ask one question, just to make sure I understand? When we're talking about the zoning for each lot and block, we're not talking about picking and choosing. We're just looking at each block and lot to decide whether we want to change the boundary lines.
Correct.
Okay.
That's the way, yes.
Yep.
Because to your point, I think you can't, unless you start to really dive in and you visually see this lot, oh wait, that's where I kind of feel no, then yes.
Yep, just want to make sure we're not talking about one particular zone for one random lot
Nope.
here and there.
No,
We're talking
no.
about-
No,
Okay, perfect.
Yep.
That's what I figured.
all right. Any other comments? I think this is going to bring us a lot further along, a lot faster. Any other on ECBD? Okay.
Can you update the color map, because all the lots are all still subdivided
Yeah,
on both sides? This even shows the old newspaper.
we can update the map, Larry.
Yeah.
What I think, we'll see how the next meeting goes, but it looks like we're gonna be picking and choosing the good stuff, the TDR in this plan, and rewriting the whole plan, essentially. So, we can, the planning board can certainly, we can beef up the street trees, and we can use a fresh aerial, to your point, something that's not dated, it's actually an aerial from 2025, right? And
But that shows the new reality of
And I
what is
think
actually
a
there.
fresh aerial with the fresh boundary lines would help the board immensely in terms of what's developed, what's not developed, and driving that discussion. If the chairwoman's okay with that.
Yep, I'm good with that. All right, we are moving on to historic. So one of our master plan element review items is we are still working on our historic preservation element. Jason was so kind enough to go through and comment, address certain items. That copy was also sent out to you guys. Jason, do you want to do just kind of a general?
Yeah, so I met with Mike, and we kind of went over and took what the board was saying at the last meeting, how we were having the discussions. And I kind of went through, and the latest copy I have has the red lines in it of things looking to remove.
Yeah.
And then green is things that we're adding, to catch some of the comments from the board. And then yellow is stuff that's being relocated into an annex. So basically, from the last discussion, I scaled back a lot of what I was saying to pull out, and leaving that you can have, there's the option to have a historic overlay, but it has to be drawn from the residents. But leaving all those options of what you can do and the benefits, and kind of beefed up, that there is more, there's benefits that you can have to it, but really just kind of leaving it as it's resident driven. And then adding some, keeping all the language about the infill that the people wanted, that was discussed. And then just kind of cleaning it up from there, and then moving a lot of the the individual recommendations for the overlay zones into an annex and kind of deferring people to the historic if they wanted to deem their area and come up with all that information rather than it all being in the plan and saying we're recommending it.
That's what the quote-unquote overlay zone portion you're talking
Yes.
about? Okay, yeah. Anybody have any comments, thoughts?
Few comments here. I like the infill section that's in there. I appreciate that, especially I think it's important in some of the areas where there are a lot of homes that have historical value. But I guess I was wondering if someone can explain, like, what are we trying to do with POZs, with respect to the master plan? And then the second piece, what's the purpose of the strategies and recommendations in this? Is that just what the one committee that presented to us, their recommendation, that's not going in the master plan at all? I just kind of want to get a better clarification on that.
You're talking about like at the end of the,
Like page 10, like that section there, because it's like, you look at, I don't know, like very bottom of page 10, consider adding an HPOZ, or whatever, these different areas, or middle of page 11. Yeah, it's just kind of, a little confusing to me of what we're trying to accomplish with this document.
I agree with you. I wanted to pull, and that's, my initial was to pull out any recommendations of historic overlay zone. And I guess I got the feeling from the board that they wanted to leave in, the possibility of doing one for Main Street. So that's why I didn't pull that recommendation out. So it wouldn't be, and yes, you're 100% right. This is all based on the recommendations when Marge came and did the presentation from the Historic Society. So that's what everything was based on. But no, I mean, the final language, I guess, wouldn't have a recommendation from the Historic Advisory Committee. It would just say that Somerville is looking to, promote X, Y, and Z if we
But-
wanted to.
Moving it to resident-driven.
Resident-driven.
Not something that we would be doing, I'm just clarifying, right?
Except for I think Main Street, everybody kind of wanted
Yes, Main Street was,
to leave it in that we would look at it, that we should look at it as a board for creating one. Unless I got that wrong at the last meeting.
Okay.
I don't know if that really
I guess
answered.
what will the final document look like, or is this?
that's what we're
So-
discussing. We're
So
looking
yeah,
at-
so if people like these ideas and the things that were taken out, then we can clean the language up for the stuff that's being left in.
Yeah.
I didn't want to go through line by line and take individual words out just to clean it up. If we came back here and everybody was like, no, just get rid of that whole section.
I think what I'm gonna task everybody got this Monday. I think what I'm gonna ask is everybody goes through this. I want you to look at the language, what's being proposed to be either used as an addendum or moving it from a mandatory to a resident-driven, and look at the comments. There's a lot of, there is quite a bit of additional language that Jason had added in there based on our comments, the thought process on the Main Street alone, and then bring those comments back, because to your point, Bill, what does it look like? We haven't gotten there yet because we need everybody's input on what we do see that document to look like. But this was just Jason's attempt, great attempt, thank you, was taking everything that we kind of discussed at the last couple meetings, saying, hey, this is what we're hearing, let's move this forward instead of just constantly having discussions, so.
Okay, well, I agree that it's a great start, and I just was trying to understand like the long term of it, so, yeah, that's it, so thank you.
Yep, and agree directionally, and I think, Lisa, to your point, the sooner we can get to the next version, to all sit down and kind of look at something that's consolidated, that would help the discussion, I think, so that's perfect. And any chance there's a Word version of this floating around that's a little easier to put comments in and edit? Because PDF, I started going through it, I was like,
I did it through the PDF editor. It was a
You're a brave
pain.
man.
Yeah, it was not
Brave
fun.
man.
I can see if I can convert it into a
Take
Word.
try.
Yeah, I have some software. I might be able to convert it into a Word document.
yeah, don't kill yourself. I was just wondering if we had
Well,
something. 'cause-
it might kill me to try to keep editing the PDFs. Yeah, I'll see what I can do on that. I probably should have done that first instead of playing with the PDF, but
Tomato, tomato.
yeah.
But yes, thank you, Chrissy. That's where we're at. I want everybody to get those comments on here now, address it, bring it back, and then we will be one step closer to saying, okay, this is what the next phase, next portion of the next document looks like, closer to the goalpost.
And I think we're getting closer. I think Jason did a good job. And if you look at 16, you do have recommendations and strategies moving forward. So I think that's it. I think it just needs to be cleaned up a little bit on the top as far as, so there's no conflicting information.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right, I do see Marge here, so I do want to open this up to the public to have her, give her a chance. I'll open this up to public for any comments or questions. Okay, I will close public and we will move on to our final discussion item, Regional Center notice. Mike?
Thank you. There is a regional center notice. We got a full application for what I refer to, and this, I'm dating myself, needed casings.
Yep.
It's in Southside. I know it's not called that, but please, just how I know it, okay? It is the manufacturing facility that is right by the Burroughs ball fields, Chambers Park, or Southside, however you want to refer to it, that they're doing an addition, a substantial addition to one of the warehouse buildings adjacent to the railroad tracks. It is somewhere in the neighborhood of 17,000 square foot warehouse building addition. So as part of the regional center, we have that notice was provided to the borough. It is an addition, it's an expansion of the facility that currently operates, and that's the extent of it.
So just out of a curiosity, do we know where the addition is going if you're looking at the building?
It's the building closest to the tracks, not from the road.
Okay.
You have that curve. South side goes into,
Lozier Ave.
thank you. Thank you. It's the one, if you're on Lozier on the curve, it's going to be the one kissing the railroad tracks. The building back there is being a huge expansion with a parking lot.
So the smaller
So
building.
they're adding manufacturing facility and a surface parking lot.
Okay.
Something like 20 or 40 cars, 2 bays on either side. It meets the criteria, so that's why we're getting the notice.
I'm just glad to hear it's over there and not coming right up against South Side, right next to the park, because that,
No,
Does
it's not near the
flood and-
park. It's, I guess you would say it's closer, the development is pushing towards Lozier, not South Side.
okay.
Okay, you would say it's on the eastern side of the existing building. And the parking lot would be on the eastern side, the surface parking lot.
But also close, oh, excuse me. Also closer to Center Street. Or Central Avenue,
No.
what's that street?
Well, yeah, going up across
If
the
you go,
tracks. Yeah.
yes,
Yeah, on the other side, yeah.
Yep.
right.
That is
If you look
closer.
on the other side of the, yeah,
Other
correct,
side
Larry.
of the railroad.
Right. You have that weird situation where South Side is the Borough Street, it becomes Bridgewater, swings around, and then becomes Somerville again. So you have that stretch, and that's always that road's always in poor shape around that corner, as anybody knows, so. Yes. And we also got a notice, but I don't have the plans, so it'll come up probably the next meeting on a Raritan Center. Raritan's giving us a regional center notice. We just got a letter, cover letter. I don't have any plans or anything. It's not on your package. What was here was a box on the Bridgewater for, I'll call it needed casings.
Anybody have any comments?
Are we gonna learn more about this project? Like, was there
We
any
can-
smells or noise or things like that that will impact our?
To learn more, we'd have to attend their meeting. Yeah. This is just our notice that it's happening because of the boundary lines. Yep.
Bill, which what we typically do, if there's like a kindergarten or some intensive use might adversely impact the borough, we dive into the plans and write a concern letter from the planning board to the Bridgewater Planning Board voicing our concerns. If this board doesn't feel there's any concerns, we're silent typically. We don't say anything to Bridgewater. In this case, the manufacturing facility has been there for decades. And I don't know of any complaints ever in 21 years from the facility from borough side.
Are there gonna be more trucks? Expansion of the warehousing?
Again, we'd have to go to their application hearing to ask those questions. We have no idea,
Right, good point.
so.
Also, the letter says, oh, you're only being told because you're within 500 feet. They always talk about the regional partnership. Does this actually go to the regional partnership?
That's who gave us the notice, was Regional Center.
Yeah.
Because it looks like it came from their lawyers.
Well, it
Lawyers
goes through the
typically go.
Regional Center and then to us.
Does the regional center have any comments or questions or?
I don't know, we haven't met. We are meeting in a few weeks. But normally, it comes up, but I couldn't tell you if they have any comments because we haven't met since January, so.
The borough ordinance, and I think it's the same in Raritan and Bridgewater, requires 30-day notice for the adjoining municipality for items that trigger the regional center notice, Larry, and you're giving me that figure.
Uh-huh.
And it's 50,000 square feet of warehouse, and I think it's 50 apartments or dwelling units. These are triggers.
Yes.
Or, as you said, Larry, if you're within 500 feet of the municipal boundary, that's requirement too. So,
Thank you.
Okay. Pulled my hair out. All right, so I am now going to open up the meeting to all members of the public that wish to address the board on any matter that was not listed on this agenda. All parties interested in addressing the board, please approach the microphone, state your name, full name and address for the record, and provide your questions and comments. All questions and comments are limited to 5 minutes. Okay, hearing none. Whoop. Oh, go ahead. Yeah, you gotta just come mine up, Marge, but absolutely. Yes, please.
I'm Marge Sullivan. I live at 8 South Richards Avenue in Somerville. I want to make a comment about the 141 property on, what is it, the street?
The south side
South
Lozier?
side.
Okay.
My concern, and I would ask the board to think about it, is that is such a flood-prone area. And even if the factory has been there for a long time, they're planning an addition, they're planning additional parking, you mentioned, which means they're going to have more impervious surface. And even though it seems like not a big deal, it is a big deal because the borough parkland is there, and all that water backs up onto borough property. And so I think it might behoove people from the planning board to maybe get copies of what the plans are for that and to think carefully about how it affects the stormwater. Because, like you said, it's half Bridgewater and half Somerville. But the water doesn't divide itself by municipalities. That's my comment.
Thank you, Marge. Any other public comment? All right, hearing none, I will close public session. Motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?